Hello and welcome to this interview here on Money Paathshaala. Joining me today is a dear friend, someone who has been perhaps or can be called one of the most experienced certified financial planners in this country, and recently wrote a very interesting book called If God Was Your Financial Planner. And trust me, it's not just the title, but please do go and read the book. It's a very interesting book. Suresh has tried to bring in lots of things into this book in a very nice manner, in a storytelling, and he's a very spiritual person. So he's weaved in a lot of spirituality as well, and that's where the God element comes in. So it's a wonderful book. Please do read it. I'm not going to give away the whole book, but I have Suresh Sadagopan, who's the author. He is also the managing director at Ladder 7. That's the company he's run as a independent financial advisor. And there's a lot of differentiation between a distributor and an advisor, which Suresh has referred to in his book. And that's interesting for you as a reader also to go through to understand the concept and the difference between the two. Suresh, thank you very much. Long intro, but I guess when you've known somebody for over 20 years, the intro has to be a little long.
Thank
But
you,
great to
Vivek.
have
Thank you
you.
so much. Thank you so much for having me here. Thank you.
So, Suresh, my first question, in the early part of the book, you've talked very interestingly about, the whole property situation, right? Real estate, as we've always talked about over the years, is something that we Indians seem to love. And you brought out, the whole debate, which keeps coming up from time to time about rent versus buying your own property. Many people don't understand the concept of rental yield, which you've explained very, very simply. I don't want you to give away the whole book, but if you can touch a little on this whole piece about whether you should rent a house or whether you should straight away go take a big loan and buy a place.
So thank you, Vivek. Thank you for going through the book and thank you for actually pointing out to one of the important points which I want to bring out for the readers. And that is, in our country, and I believe it is globally that is the case, that people are all very, very taken in by real estate. So that is what I understand globally. I have nothing against real estate per se, but whenever I see an obsession in terms of going for real estate at an inappropriate point, that is exactly what I want to curtail. I mean, in our practices also, we find a lot of situations where people come and they want to buy a real estate at a really inappropriate point. Like for example, somebody who is in their 20s, they have just started their career, and in the initial stage of the career, if they take a house, what really happens is in pursuance of their career, they go from city to city or country to country. This happens quite a lot. But I mean, there is a lot of pressure from the society, from the family, and so they also get taken in by that, and they sometimes take a loan which they find very difficult to service. And considering the real estate prices today, they tend to buy in a place which probably may not be the most suitable from their standpoint. So they end up traveling a lot. I mean, thinking that okay, I'm living in my own house and I'm very happy about it and things like that. But situation, if really they were to consider the situation, it might have been much better for them to actually take an office closer to their place of work. Taken a house closer to their place of work. So it would have been much easier for them to commute. The daily grind would be far more easy on them. And whenever they want to really take a call regarding moving from one company to another company, or even in the same company, moving from one position or one office to another office, would be very easy. The second part, which I also want to touch upon, is that see, considering the real estate prices that are there, I mean, across all cities in India today, I mean, we're all talking about most of the, at least the A-class cities and metros. You cannot get a house below 1 crore today. I mean, so that's the sad part of it. But that is also the reality. So when we are really looking at that kind of a figure, somebody really wants to put in that much money. It's not first of all feasible. So the second part is, I mean, they somehow, I mean, from here and there, they scrape up the money and they put in, say, maybe 20 lakhs or 22 lakhs, 25 lakhs, and balance they take a loan. They struggle for the most part. So my point is, if the house is not going to be really suitable or in a suitable locality, or it is not going to be suitable from the family living point of view. Suppose, for example, you require a 3 BHK because there are 5 members in the family, and all you can afford is maybe a 1 BHK or a 2 BHK. I mean, how is it really suitable? I mean, why do you really want to live in that kind of a property? So my other point, which I want to also bring to the fore, is that, see, if you really look at the rental situation in the country, a lot of people tend to think that they are paying a lot of rent, but you have to see the rent in connection with what is the current property price of that property which you have chosen to take on rent. So typically, let us take an example to understand this. Let us take the case of a one crore property. The typical rent which one tends to pay will be, say, 2.5 to 3.5%. So that is the typical rent which one pays anywhere in the country. It can be less than even 2.5%, and very rarely it is more than 3.5%. So typical 2.5 to 3.5, or a ballpark of 3% is what you can actually take as the rent you are paying. Now, if you were to look at the annual rent of 3% on the property price, it is actually a very, very good deal that you are getting, especially early on in life when you don't have so much money to go for a property. It's a very good deal, and it gives you total flexibility. Today you can be in one part of the town. Tomorrow, if you change company in the same city and you want to move to another part of the town, it gives you the flexibility. And if you happen to change the cities, or if you want to take a bigger home because in between you got married and things like that, so it becomes very, very simple. At a later point in time, when you have the resources, when you have kind of decided, you and your family have decided that, okay, I want to put down anchor in Mumbai or Delhi or Hyderabad or any other place for that matter, then you really take that call to buy the property. I mean, in that place, a suitable property in a suitable location, and hopefully by that time you have enough resources saved, and you will also be able to service the loan without any hiccups. So that is the whole idea. I mean, so there are many, many things that I've written. So I mean, you have asked me about one portion of it. So I mean, that portion I have kind of elucidated.
Yes, don't worry. I'll ask you many more portions, but I'm also very particular about not giving away the whole book because I
Yeah.
want people to read it. The joy of reading a full book is very, very different from an interview. The other point that you made, and I'm very glad that you made it, Suresh, because I find we talk a lot about SIP, and at every level, whether it is media, whether it is the industry, but very few people talk about SWP. Maybe the reason is SIP money comes in, so everybody is happy. SWP money goes out, so people are not very happy.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
you've actually, I mean, I must say that there are a couple of, or two, three, four CEOs who have now started talking about it. But in your community, you've actually written at length about it. And could you tell us the importance of SWP and why everyone should know about this? Because it's one thing to build wealth, it's another to draw down on that wealth when you need the money. I mean, that's why we invest in the first place, isn't it?
So I mean, SIP, like you rightly pointed out, is at a time when we are actually getting an income, and on a monthly basis, you are getting a certain amount of money, and you want to invest that money in for some productive use and to create wealth. So now, once you have accumulated money, once you have completed your tenure of employment, maybe at 58 or 60 or whatever point, after that you would want to actually draw down from the wealth that you have created for your regular expenses and goals and whatever may be there. So now most people want a comfortable monthly income kind of thing coming into their account. So a lot of people are also very, very worried about not touching their capital. So that is why the typical concept of putting, let us say, 50 lakhs or 20 lakhs or 1 crore or whatever in an FD, and they live on the interest portion, and they are quite happy about it. So there are certain good points, and there are certain problems in some of the instruments like FDs, bonds, or NCDs. See, the good point is you know how much is going to come from FD or NCD because the interest rate is clearly known. So you will get the money for whatever length of time you have contracted. So that is a good part. The problematic part as far as the bond or NCD is concerned is that a lot of times people set up an income which is actually more than what they require. So if they require 70,000, to be very conservative, they set up 90,000. So now what happens is, now whatever income you are going to get, you call it interest or you call it coupon or you call it whatever you want, that is entirely taxed as income. So if you happen to fall under the 30% tax bracket, you would be paying 30% on all that money, whether you use it or whether you don't use it, you are going to pay 30%. Now, as far as the tax dispensation on the debt mutual fund is concerned, now very quickly I'll touch upon debt mutual fund. Debt mutual fund is not really very different from FD or a debenture or a NCD. In the case of a debenture or a NCD, it is from one vendor. Okay, so the debenture can be from one company or the NCD can be from one company. So it's a single party to whom you are actually giving your money. In the case of debt mutual fund, it is an agglomeration of various investments that the fund manager has made of your money and lakhs of other people who have given them the money. So there is a huge amount of diversification in when you invest through a debt mutual fund, which is a positive. And there is one more very interesting point as far as the debt mutual fund is concerned. The whatever you are taking out of that debt mutual fund is coming under the capital gain regime. The one very important point which I want to stress as far as a debt mutual fund is concerned is that you can choose to be on the growth plan. Suppose let us assume that you are even after retirement you are doing some consultancy and you don't require the money. In the case of an FD or an NCD, once you have invested in the FD or NCD, that will definitely come to you. And whether you like it or not, you will have to pay tax on the interest or the coupon. Whereas in the case of a debt mutual fund, you can choose not to set up any income or any withdrawal, so that the money will keep accumulating till the point you require the money. And when you do require the money, you can actually calibrate that to the extent that you want to withdraw. So now let us say you really want to withdraw only 60,000. So you can actually set up a systematic withdrawal of about 60,000 rupees and for whatever duration you want. And let us say for some reason your expenses go up from 60 to 70 after 6 months. You can stop the previous one and you can start a new one for 70,000, or you can just incrementally add another 10,000 rupees. And it does not stop here, the advantages. The other very important advantage is that the beneficial tax treatment. So I'll very quickly tell you what is the beneficial tax treatment. So now any debt mutual fund comes under short-term capital gain, irrespective. I mean, there has been a change in the tax structure. So any mutual fund, irrespective of how long you are holding, comes under the capital gain treatment. So what happens is when you withdraw some money, let us say you are withdrawing 10,000 rupees. So you are withdrawing certain units. In the case of mutual fund, it is always certain units that you are withdrawing. So they will look at what is the price of the unit when you bought it. And currently, suppose you are withdrawing 10,000. So that is the current price. So what they will check is that what is the initial price? Let us say it is 9,500. And what is the current amount you are withdrawing, which is 10,000. You are withdrawing that many units. So the amount of tax to be paid is on 500 rupees, because that is the difference between the initial cost and the current cost. So on 500 rupees, short-term capital gain is as per the tax slabs, which is 30%. So on 500 rupees, you will be paying 30%, which is 150 rupees. Whereas had you got the same 10,000 rupees from, let us say, an FD, the entire 10,000 rupees will be taxable at 30%, which will be 3,000 rupees. So there is going to be a major difference between the taxation, even though nominally you are paying the same income tax rate for both FDs and this thing. The amount on which you are going to pay the 30% substantially differs. And that is the most important attraction of a debt mutual fund, SWP. I mean, this is not really very well known among people, and that is why I've chosen to write a bit long piece on that in my book.
Suresh, you've also written a lot about a child's education, and you've again looked at it from very different perspectives. Uh, so, a couple of points. One is you have talked about the rising cost of education, especially, the whole move towards private big schools, new age schools, as they call them, where the fees are extremely high, instead of going to or actually realizing how much can you afford. But because there is so much of peer pressure, societal pressure, everyone is trying to go and put their children in expensive schools. And the second point is, how do you, if you have decided, at the end of the day, it is each individual's choice, as you also write, you can only tell your clients what to do, but eventually it's their money, it's their life, they have to decide. But uh, how does one plan for the child's education? Now, look at, you also talked about overseas, I mean, higher education, where at least in urban areas, pretty much everybody wants to now go abroad, even
Yeah.
middle class children, lower middle class children, and the fees are astronomical. So, how do you plan for your child's education in this environment?
So let me start at the beginning. See, as far as the education is concerned, I mean, the fundamental thing which we'll have to clearly understand is, I mean, uh, we need not necessarily go by the labels. We need we need proper education for our children. The quality of education, I think, matters much more than any of the labels or any of the accoutrements that you can get from the school. I mean, we need not necessarily get impressed by an AC classroom, or I mean, by any fancy maybe swimming pools or other aids that they may have in the school. See, ultimately, shorn of any say, I mean, trappings, the most important thing that we are sending the child to the school for is good quality education. So we need to see whether there are good teachers, qualified teachers, the quality of education imparted itself is good or not. So unfortunately, this is not how many people are today seeing. They want good education, but there is a heuristic where people tend to think that if it is a fancy school with a fancy label, fancy name, and I mean it has all the trappings of the upwardly mobile people coming to that kind of a school with an international tagline. So a lot of people tend to think that that really constitutes good education for their children. So that is something that I have tried to dispel that notion that good education, I mean, I have nothing against international schools, I have nothing against fancy schools, but I mean, you really have to check whether you want to pay that 4 lakh, 5 lakh, or whatever is the amount that you need to pay, which will be several times of what you pay to, for example, a simple Kendriya Vidyalaya. I'm saying simple Kendriya Vidyalaya because it's a very good school, but I mean, it is not anything fancy. And I would say Kendriya Vidyalaya is how a school should really be. Okay, it's a real school with good teachers, good curriculum. It will be CBSE school. So in every possible way, it's a good educational institution, but very inexpensive and affordable. So that is something that the parents will have to decide. So the second thing, as far as choosing a school today is concerned, is that people are looking at other extraneous factors which are there in a school, not necessarily only the education. So parents talk about horse riding, parents talk about archery, parents talk about swimming and things like that. And some of the parents even talk about moral education and things like that. See, as a parent, I mean, we want to do the basic minimum, or rather, we don't want to do anything, and we want to actually allow somebody else to even impart moral education. Okay, so the problem is we don't have time. We don't have. I mean, we don't have time enough to sit with the child and talk about our culture, about values, about our morals, and that you want some third person whom you don't know. We don't know. God alone knows what kind of moral education they are imparting. We really don't know. So we want to really you can say outsource a lot of things because we don't have the time. We are having the money. Many of us are having the money, so we want to outsource that, and that is also something slightly troubling because you don't know what your child is actually learning. I mean, and you may know to your disadvantage at a much later point in time. So we don't know. So that is a problem. So the third point from a parental point of view is that a lot of people have decided that they have to put their children in those kind of schools. Now the amount of pressure that they are under, especially when they have two children, both going to good schools, then what happens is, I mean, several lakhs of rupees they are paying as fees, only as fees. And the other things are also there. I mean, there may be a picnic, there may be a party, there may be multiple things. So it all adds up to several lakhs of rupees every year. Now, I mean, the parents are going to spend all that kind of money, so they always are on a kind of a treadmill. So now children who are educated in these kind of places automatically see, I mean, their peers and other students gravitating towards, I mean, other locations like US, UK, Canada, things like that, foreign locations. So now naturally these people also tend to think that from my school, all my friends, all my peers are all going here, and naturally they want to go. And that portion is even more troubling. Here, if you are going to pay 3-4 lakhs or 5 lakhs per annum for the school education, the education cost abroad can be, for example, in the US, can be like 55-60 lakhs per annum. And if you are going to send your child after 12th standard, then it can be maybe 2 crores or 2.5 crores or something like that is what you are going to spend, 2.2, 2.3 crores. And that is not the only thing. I mean, that is of course a very, very important consideration from a parental point of view. The more important consideration, which I am really always worried about, I keep pointing this out to parents, is that, I mean, you are sending the child at a very vulnerable age. They are just 17, 18. They are not, they are children. They are not adults. They may look big, but they are not adults. So you are sending them to another country, another culture. I mean, they don't know anything and they are impressionable. I mean, are you really doing the right thing as far as your children are concerned? It may be much better and viable for you to send the children at post-graduation level, because they will be at least 21, 22. And I suggest to most parents that they should work for 3-4 years. So by that time they'll be 23, 24, and then they can go abroad if they want to. And they would have also accumulated some money, and it is only 2 years. It is much, much easier for you to manage that. And they can also take a loan. They will have their own money. So it's much, much easier from every point of view, is what typically I suggest. So
Hmm.
the education thing is a very difficult area, I mean, to actually go through with the parents, because many of them have been conditioned to think that, yeah, my children have to go abroad. I mean, and like you rightly pointed out, even very normal middle class people are talking like that, and that becomes very, very difficult in terms of actually ensuring that their retirement is well funded. So the bucket from which they are actually taking out money for all these fancy things is the retirement fund, and
Hmm.
that's a very, very problematic thing.
In fact, that's my next question, actually, Suresh. That because probably people are looking at just ticking boxes, right? I mean, I have to buy a house, I have to send my child to a fancy school, I have to do X, Y, Z, and after doing all of that, they're waking up to the reality of retirement and how to plan for it only when they're post 40, probably, or even later. And that is the most expensive goal, isn't it? Because
Absolutely.
and especially, again, there's so many cultural changes. There is no joint family system anymore, with children going off overseas at an early age and unlikely to come back. uh, there are lots of cultural changes, societal changes that have also happened,
Correct.
which makes it even more imperative for people to think about their retirement planning now. So you've talked about that as well and taken some live examples of people and talked about that. But could you tell us a little about how important is it and how can you actually go about, even if you've not woken up till now, as they say, jab jago wahi savera. So even if you have just woken up to that reality, what can you do?
Yeah, I mean, you rightly pointed out that retirement is one of the most important goals in one's life. See, once upon a time when we retire at 60, I'm talking about 50 years back or 60 years back, people tended to survive at that time for maybe 7-8 years, maybe 10 years max, right? So you need enough corpus for surviving that kind of a period. Whereas the situation has tremendously changed today. The longevity has increased. People are surviving and living into their 90s, and people are touching 100. So even assuming your superannuation age is 58 or 60, we are really talking about a 30 plus years of survival period. So that's a very, very long period. So today, I mean, for everything under the sun, you will be able to take a loan. Okay, if you want to send your child abroad, you can take a loan. If you want a AC, you can take a loan. Anything under the sun, you will get a loan. The only goal for which you really cannot take a loan is retirement. I mean, so this is a very, very important thing. I mean, that is the biggest goal. And for that goal, you cannot take a loan. And if you are actually going to dip into that goal and you are going to come up short, there is no way that you can actually do anything about that particular goal. For every other goal, there is a recourse. But for this goal, there is no recourse. Why am I saying this? People have to get wise on this particular goal. One cannot really dip into this for every frivolous so-called goal that one may have in life. I mean, I know people who dip into this even for birthday parties. For all kinds of things, this is one, I mean, catch-all, say, bucket from where they will actually put in and take out that candy bar and use it. So that it's like that. So, I mean, it's very, very troubling to see people come up short as far as retirement is concerned. There is one more very, very interesting thing which is happening today. A lot of people also want to, I mean, achieve all the goals and at the same time retire early. So that's a trend which I see a lot. A lot of people in their 30s, they say, I want to retire by 40, 42, and things like that. I mean, if you really want to retire by 42 and you have a survival period till say 1995, we are talking about anything between 45 and 50 years of survival period. And if you are retiring by 42, your children are going to be very young, and even their school education would not have completed, and then the college education. And I mean, whatever goals are also going to come because you are also young, your spouse is also expected to be young. So, which means that there are going to be lots and lots of goals. So, for those people, they will have to plan even more. Now, coming to another thing which I tend to hear about retirement is that when we talk about retirement, people talk about, okay, I have taken a retirement plan. Okay, pension plan दिया है, retirement हमने पक्का किया है अभी. That kind of a thing. So it is I mean, it is a nice heuristic for people to think that retirement, I mean, if you take a pension plan, your retirement is taken care of. What people are not really aware is the amount of money they really require as a corpus for comfortable living for the husband and wife for maybe 30, 35 years. And a lot of people also don't realize that it is not only living expenses. People have goals even in retirement. People travel a lot of our clients, we are actually planning for a lot of travel even during retirement. So if that is a goal, then I mean, you know how travel as a goal is. It requires a lot of money. And some people have philanthropic goals. So I mean, they say, yeah, I mean, all this time I've been earning, I have been always wanting to do this or that. So then you require money for that. There are people who really want to leave a legacy. Then of course, for that you will have to have that money. People want to gift their children and grandchildren, so for that you require money, and so on. And some people want to buy a senior citizen home, again you require money. So there are quite a few things for which you require money. So one has to be absolutely sensible, especially when it comes to retirement. You need to know exactly how much you require. I mean, nobody can be exact, but at least broadly speaking, how much you require. A lot of people, when they come to us for planning, they say, if I have 2 crores, it's fine. So, Suresh, can you tell me, will I be reaching 2 crores or 3 crores? And then I'll be well funded. And how do you know? Because today, I mean, everything depends on your expenses today and what is going to be the inflation in the intervening period and what is going to be the pattern of expenses after retirement. It is all contingent on that. So, I mean, suffice to say that at least for this portion of the planning, people should come to professionals. If they are going to do by themselves and they think that 1 crore or 1.5 crores is enough in this age, they are living in a fool's paradise. It's very, very important. I highly suggest that they should go to somebody who can actually guide them properly, some professional advisor who can guide them properly on that. I can't emphasize this more.
Absolutely. And in fact, even I have always maintained that irrespective of, where you are in your career, in your degrees, in your education, the role of a financial advisor goes way beyond just doing some math for you. And these are things which you can't do by yourself. And, there's no rule, one single rule. My final question, Suresh, as I introduced you as in our various conversations, you've always been a bit of a spiritual person. You have, as your title says, in a very interesting way, in a very subtle way, but at the end of the day, when you close the book, it's not just about money. There are also certain nuggets of spirituality in terms of your relationship with money. How would you define what a good, healthy relationship with money is? Many people feel that if I go to a planner, she may tell me or he may tell me, don't spend so much. So let me not go. And especially, when you're young, you want to spend, you've just come out of college. You're no longer dependent probably on the income of your parents, and you want to splurge a little. But what is a good, healthy relationship according to you that a person should have with money?
Yeah, I mean, good that you're asking me this question. See, that is exactly what I wanted to actually bring out in this book. See, the thing is, life is not all about money. Money is required in life, but life is not all about money. Whereas most of the people operate as if money is everything, and they are only focused on gathering money, acquiring stuff, and they are focused purely on building wealth, spending, meeting the goals. I am not even trying to say that that is not important. That is absolutely important. But there is a life beyond money. So we all have come into this world and we want certain level of fulfillment. I mean, of course, money buys a lot of things which will make you and your family very comfortable. But beyond a particular point, we need to find that meaning in life. Because I mean, if you are looking for happiness only through money, that is not probably going to ever come. So you need to live a meaningful life. You need to find that happiness. You need to find that delight. You need to find that vibrance in life. For all that, you need to transcend money. You need to figure out where is that you really want to go. What are the things that you really want to do? And money will help you in some of these things to reach there. And that is the whole idea which I have tried to bring in this book. There are things which will happen in life which will probably be disturbing to you at a certain point in time, but there is nothing anybody can do about those things which happen in life. All of us have good things or perceived good things and perceived bad things, but everything teaches us something. I mean, they say that experience comes out of blunders, right? So, I mean, we do make mistakes, blunders, or I mean, unpleasant events, and that's an experience, and hopefully that will stand us in good stead in the future. So the point is that's a temperament that we will need to imbibe. That's an attitude that we need to have to live a successful life. So I want people to look at money in the context that it is required in life, but money is not really everything, and we need to go far beyond. We need to actually go within, explore what is that I really want. In fact, there is a concept called life planning, where before the financial planning, we have a exploration session where we ask people to fill out certain questionnaires and fill out certain worksheets, and essentially we are trying to go deep within them and find out what is that can make this person tick, what is that can make this life wonderful and well lived. So and then we try to paint that life, and then if they buy into that, then we design a financial plan based on the new goals, including a very vibrant life, and that becomes their financial plan. So actually speaking, that life planning should be done before a financial plan. I mean, there is not too much buy-in as far as the life plan is concerned. People, when we talk about a life plan, people will say, ah, it is all touchy-feely, fuzzy subject. Let us do a financial plan, yeah. So, okay. So we do a financial plan, but I cannot emphasize this enough. It's very important for us to transcend beyond money. And that is why I did not want to talk about this. I brought in Lord Krishna himself to talk about the weighty concepts. I wanted a voice with weight and gravitas. And that is why I brought in Lord Krishna to talk about the philosophies of life. I mean, which of course he has very eloquently and wonderfully put in Bhagavad Gita himself. So that is what I have. I have tried to bring in here to tell people that they will have to look at life and money. I mean, we always talk about life success. We don't talk about well-being with money. We always talk about life success, and that is the principle with which we are operating when we deal with our customers.
Absolute pleasure as always, Suresh, talking to you. Thank you very much. Wish you all the very best for the book. I hope that a lot of people uh, learn from it, implement it, and congratulations on doing this great book. And wish you much success in life ahead. And look forward to many more such conversations.
Thank you, Vivek. Thanks a lot. Thanks for reading the book and bringing out all the salient points in the book and asking me the questions for the benefit of our viewers. I hope they will read the book, but even if they are seeing this interview, they will get some nuggets from the book in this interview itself. So thank you so much for taking the time and interviewing me on this book. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Suresh.